In 2009, as the recession deepened, the state suspended a requirement that those getting federal SNAP benefits, once called food stamps, must work 20 hours a week. That could also be met through community service and on-the-job training. Now, the Martinez administration wants to reinstate that requirement and expand it. In the past, parents and other household members who qualified for SNAP and who were caring for a child were exempt from the job requirements. Now, those with children age 6 or older would need to be searching for a job or participate in community service to obtain food assistance. The Human Services Department would also expand this to 16 and 17-year-olds and adults from ages 51 to 59. Critics are concerned poor people may lose their benefits, and they point out that the jobs picture in New Mexico continues to be shaky. And Janice, one issue is people with children may need to do this under these requirements. They need to get childcare if they're going to go out and look for a job. I haven't heard a lot of talk about this yet, like how's that going to happen? Because we already know that's an issue.
You know, it is, and again, I think this is a timing issue. I don't think anybody would disagree that there is waste, fraud, and abuse in the system, but the majority of people right now are really struggling. And those who have children, what are they going to do if they don't go out and look, then they can't take care of their child, and there is no give here. And one of the things that I think about is, as we roll this out, will the cost of compliance, and I don't know how that's going to look, outweigh the benefit of this policy? How are we going to do that? Is it been streamlined? I have no idea. But I think the timing is off.
There's not a lot of information yet, Dan, but the jobs outlook is not great here, and especially people in their 50s.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's a bit of ageism.
But it's not just jobs it asks for.
Yeah.
I mean,
Okay,
it could be community service.
Right.
And there's lots of opportunities for community service.
Right.
And as the economy continues to go south, there's more opportunities for community service.
Can you bring your child, though?
Lots of them you can. There's a lot of opportunities to do that.
But my point about compliance is, what community service? There are people who would go out and clean up the medians. How do they account for that? And that's the problem, is what's that accounting piece?
It's a good point.
And
it's a very good point. What I thought was interesting, I don't know if you guys saw the MSN website. They did a poll asking this question. They had 711,000 people respond. 615,000 said, yes, they should go to work. What I found was even more interesting was there was 18,000 people who said, I'm not sure. So I'm not sure, you know.
But I think it speaks to the lack of detail that we see here, because I think we do see in polling that there is a real concern about how families will handle this, about the fact that there aren't jobs out there. And I think to Megan's question, this issue for parents of, if I have to do 20 hours of community service, I may or may not be able to get childcare to cover. You know, the cost of the childcare can easily overwhelm the amount of money that you're going to receive from SNAP. And so what happens there, perhaps by design, perhaps by coincidence, or maybe just thoughtlessness, is that people get pushed off the rolls because they have to make a choice between money out and benefits in.
And Rob, actually, we talk about people, it's interesting, it's a very emotional issue, but the national statistics are that at least half or more of the people who get SNAP are already working.
Right,
I don't know if people know that.
Right, but also I don't see the big hue and cry here. First of all, this was the law of the land in the state before.
Not the expanded part, but yes, the part about able-bodied adults.
But if you're the number of people who are exempt from this, if you're disabled, you're exempt. If you're a pregnant woman, you're exempt. If you're a single parent and you have a child under 6, you are exempt. If you're a college student, full-time, you are exempt. If you're a college student, part-time, you're exempt. You're exempt. This is aimed at able-bodied people who should be able to go out and try to find some work, go to a jobs training program, or do community service. I think that's a reasonable request.
I think there's a perception that it's like surfer dudes.
No, I don't think that's the perception.
No, you don't think that?
I think that's the perception people want, Megan, but I think the problem is that there are a lot of people who are not carrying their weight. And I think that those of us that are working every day, raising families, contributing to the tax base, have said enough's enough. And I think that there's opportunities for folks. Rob makes a great point. They're not asking for folks with disabilities to go to work. They're not asking for single moms that are breastfeeding babies to start going out and working. They're asking for able-bodied people to contribute something to that.
We don't have the jobs, and
you could still go to the job training program, though. You could still do community service.
And to get other benefits, they often do. I mean, for instance, to get unemployment benefits, there's a whole program that you go through that helps you to.
But
become
also,
a
if
more
you get
attractive
unemployment
candidate.
benefits, you have to prove that you're making a good faith effort to go look for a job. I don't see what the difference
say,
is.
so
there.
And the
Are
good
we
faith
going-
effort to go look for a job is you fill a form out that says I called 6 people. This
Right,
week.
and that's
your good faith
a
effort.
minimal requirement. I don't see why
But
this is so onerous.
Janice, you know, another thing, I don't know if people know, I learned this stuff as I was researching this, you know, able-bodied adults can only be on SNAP for 3 months in a 3-year period.
Absolutely.
It's not that much.
It isn't a lot, and what's really sad is right now I know a lot of peers, my peers, who are now on SNAP. Stunning.
Oh, yeah, a
And
lot more people than you
than
would-
you think.
Very
But-
different demographic.
But here's the silver lining to the requirement. When the economy is so tight and you are not looking for work, pretty soon you cease to look for work.
Right.
And when you do that, then it's a self-fulfilling activity. This requirement requires you to get out and be in touch, which is where you're going to get a job.
Okay, fair point. Then I guess we'll move on to On the Clock. That's coming up. I can't say anything more than that. Thank you, Janice.